we need to talk. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about something very, very near and dear to my heart, something a little bit controversial. We're going to be spilling some tea, getting that juice on. Today we are going to be talking about what it's really actually like to work at a Hot Topic. If for some reason up to this point you needed more confirmation that I am a scene piece of trash, well, here you go. This is it. This is the pinnacle of scenehood. I hope you guys are ready. I've definitely mentioned this before. I think I mentioned it in my apology video that I came out with a few weeks ago, that I used to work at Hot Topic for a little bit over a year. I was a sales associate, didn't really do anything special, pretty much working the normal grind that one does after they graduate college and are now $200,000 in debt. And I was kind of joking before coming home from school saying, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I got like a job at Hot Topic and then just like, you know, did that for a while. And then I was there for over 365 days. So to talk about this today, I've kind of narrowed this down to a few main points that I wanted to make. By no means am I bashing Hot Topic. It definitely taught me a lot about sales, a lot about people, a lot about growing up and essentially what I wanted in life. So I'm definitely not bashing them for that. It was a good experience all around. But I've seen a few of these before, and I think there are definitely things that people should know before excavating into the world of emo that is Hot Topic. So point number one that I'm going to make is that you may have noticed walking into a Hot Topic that all of the employees there look really scary, or maybe weird, or maybe have huge holes in their ears, or holes in their face, or have a tattoo on their face, or something. To be honest, they're just as normal as anybody else. Working there, I thought everyone was gonna be really socially awkward, socially inept, not really have any people skills, but for the most part, most people who work there were pretty normal. And by normal, I mean obviously not aesthetically, I mean as a person. I've met a lot of weirdos. I went to art school, okay? Don't underestimate me. I've met some weird people, but for the most part, these people were kinda alright. The customers, however, whew. I have been asked out at work. I have been sexually harassed at work. I have been chatted up for 20 minutes straight about crap that I don't care about. I have people who come in thinking they're unicorns, elves, like what, you know, people coming in with like colored eye contacts, chains from head to toe, just the weirdest stuff imaginable. So in all honesty, although we look scary, we're actually probably more normal than you are in a lot of ways, because we work there. We don't need to shop there. So if you're shopping there, then that's on you. Point number two, which relates a lot to point number one, is that walking in, you notice that the employees are dressed to code, one would say. But in all honesty, there's not really much of a dress code. I mean, obviously there are some restrictions. You can't show too much skin. You can't wear anything offensive, things like that. But for the most part, you could essentially roll out of bed and show up at work and it would be seen as socially acceptable. I've done that numerous times. And obviously you're motivated to wear whatever's in the store, but whatever. And that was kind of cool, because nowadays I actually have to watch what I wear when I go to work or other places, and I don't have that freedom now like I did back then. And there were also like two extremes. It was either the people who tried really hard to look the part at work, which is what I did when I first got there, and then people who don't try at all, which is what ended up happening to me when I did work there. So there's a whole spectrum of wardrobe that is appropriate for this job. You could come in a onesie, but if you can make it work and you can make it topical, get it, topic, hot topic, then more power to you. The third point I'm going to make, you'll notice that oftentimes on the floor, there are more than one employee, or one would only hope. Sometimes it's happened where I've been alone. Most of the time, you'll probably see 3 to 4 employees on the floor. Do not worry about which one you approach, because there are no commission rates at Hot Topic. Obviously, they're gonna ask you who helped you at the counter, but in reality, that doesn't really go to much. If anything, it'll just give that person a little bit more hours, but it doesn't affect their pay at all. We all get paid the same rate, unless you're a manager, so don't feel bad if you don't pick your favorite Hot Topic employee to assist you, because in the end, we're all suffering together. And that's all that really matters. Speaking of coworkers, point number 4 that I'm going to make is that some people may have heard of this already. It's honestly very common in a lot of retail stores, but you would think for a place where everyone is so happy-go-lucky, so friendly with each other, so free-spirited and things like that, that we'd all hang out with each other. Not necessarily the case. We actually have a very strict non-fraternization policy, which basically means, if you've never heard of it before, that you're not allowed to hang out with coworkers outside of work hours, which is some bullshit. We are a rare breed, and I acknowledge that. This channel is very small. Most people in this genre of channel, I guess, are smaller compared to bigger YouTubers that are out there. But I think we can all come to an agreement that it's sort of a niche group. So when fellow emos find each other, naturally we cling to each other like saran wrap. So the fact that we weren't able to hang out with each other the entire time we were working there, and sometimes we would get out really late, And it's like, at that point, you want to go out and hang out with people, and you're already with your coworkers, so why not? But you can't. Point number 5 that I'm going to make, which relates to something I mentioned earlier about customers, is that your customers, when you work at Hot Topic and work in a small town, are going to recognize you outside of work. This has happened to me several times. It's happened to my coworkers several times. I remember one time I had an ex-boyfriend, and I'm not going to name him because he's an ex for a reason, but I had an ex-boyfriend, we were in his basement, and he said, oh, I'm going to invite one of my friends over to hang out with us. And I said, cool, I'd love to meet your friends, like, let's do it. So he invites him over. Turns out this kid is someone who I have helped several times at Hot Topic. He recognized me immediately and was like, oh, you're the Hot Topic girl, can you give me like a discount? And it was just inescapable. I had a coworker who was at Walmart and she got recognized for being a Hot Topic employee, and it's like, Walmart? Really? So that was always really weird. It's like, really? This is the closest to being a celebrity that I'm ever going to get? That's just sad. So let's move on to the actual store now. So the store itself, as you can probably tell, has a lot of shit. The quality of which this merchandise comes in is either a hit or miss. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It either sucks or it's great. I've had examples of pants ripping weeks after I bought them. One time I had a pair of pants that I really liked. I wore it pretty much every day, and then the crotch split. And this is a common occurrence for me because, let's be real, I'm pretty thick. Some of the jewelry breaks really easily. The makeup quality is not that great. Like the custom palettes that they have, the pigment's not that great. Unless you're getting the LA Girl concealer. That stuff is actually pretty good. So if you're gonna get one piece of makeup from Hot Topic, make sure it's that concealer. And then also be careful of some of the clothes, because some things will be dyed to be certain colors. For example, I had a pair of red denim shorts that I got from Hot Topic that I wore one time, and then I sent them to the wash with the rest of my clothes, and it turned all of my white clothes pink. And generally, most people are not that dumb, but I'm just gonna warn you anyway, don't put fresh red shorts in the wash. This should be common knowledge, but here we are. And then going back to merchandising. So we had what was called the flagship store, which essentially means it's like the main store for that region or that district. So we got a lot of traffic, And I don't mean like beep beep traffic, well, we got that too, but I meant like stuff coming in. We would get probably, on most days, I want to say 20 to 30 boxes a day. A day, not a week, a day. And these aren't like small boxes. You're probably thinking like, oh, they're like this big. No, they were like big ass boxes, and we were getting 20 to 30 of them a day. And the room, the back room itself, was maybe, I want to say like, I don't know, half the size of the room I'm currently in. And you guys see this room. It's not super big. This is our guest room in our house. This is a tiny room. And our stock room was half the size of that. And on top of that, we wouldn't even have time to go through all the shipment because we'd have to be on the floor. So it just kept building up, building up. It essentially looked like Legoland back there. It was not good. There was no room to put your stuff. And it was just a mess, a constant mess. That being said, when we did get shipment, it was usually things that go pretty quickly because the goal of Hot Topic is to put out a lot of stuff that they know is going to sell very quickly. Most of the time we got things like Funko Pops and t-shirts. Now, understandably, everyone has different interests, so these shirts would just pile up in the back. We had racks and racks of just shirts, pops, everything you can imagine back there. We tried to keep it organized generally, but naturally with that much stuff in that small of a back room, it would tower, and we didn't have much space to open a ladder, so oftentimes you could find coworkers climbing the freaking racks to get your merch. By the way, 1, unsafe, 2, stupid, given the job I'm doing. All this work for a stinking t-shirt. So that was always a lot of fun. Speaking of pops, another thing I would like to touch on is the fact that pop collectors exist. And they are not the people you think they are. So when I first started working at Hot Topic, I had always known that the Pops existed. These are Funko Pops. They're basically little figurines that have bobbleheads and big eyes. They're really, really cute if you've ever seen them. I have quite a few myself. I probably have about like 30. And I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't planning on having 30. When I first started working there, I said, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not getting Pops. And then 2 weeks later, I had like 4. So it's pretty unavoidable. But since these things are so cute and so small, you would think a lot of the time people coming in to buy them would be children or, you know, teenagers, people who would appreciate the actual figurine. No, most of the people that came in to get these figurines were middle-aged men because they were all collectors and they were rude and entitled, and a lot of the time our store opened at 11, they'd be at the doors at 10:45 trying to get their chase pop that they somehow predicted would be there, even though half the time it wasn't, because we only get certain pops in at a time, and it's just, you know, get a life. Get a life! It's fine if you collect things, but you're gonna pry open the doors at 10:55 just to get a collectible pop that in the future might get you $100? Get a life. So now we come to the dirty stuff. The stuff that is really, really good tea that I have been waiting to tell this entire time. There are two major points that I've been saving for the end. So the first one that I am going to tell you about is a little thing called a POG. Now, POG, you're probably thinking, what does that stand for? Plenty o gifts? No, it stands for Planograms, which essentially means that you get to do an overnight shift. Now, I, for one, during the time that I first started working at Hot Topic, did not have another job. That was my only job. I was working maybe 4 shifts a week, and a lot of these shifts were overnights. So overnight meant that you came in after the store closed, which was 7:30 most nights, because you usually did them on Sundays. I know, nice way to end your weekend, right? And you would stay there to move the entire store, or however much needed to be moved. And when I say moved, I don't mean just like, placing things in certain areas, like, making it nice. No, I mean moving the store. You know, when you walk in, there's like a wall for shirts, a wall for girls' shirts. There's some Hello Kitty stuff. There's some Avengers stuff. That all had to be moved to a different area of the store. And you know how much stuff is in a Hot Topic, so it took hours. Hours. The worst shift I ever had to work for an overnight, I came in at 7:30 like I was scheduled for, and I didn't do like maybe 1 or 2 overnights. No, at this point I'd done maybe like 20 to 30. I was rolling deep in the overnights. I came in for this overnight, and I was expecting it to be like any other overnight I've done, get out maybe like, I don't know, like the latest like 4 a.m. But no, the entire overnight, and there was a lot of us there. There was maybe like 5 or 6 of us there, but this planogram that they had sent us, and by they I mean headquarters, was impossible. It was actually impossible. They wanted us to move literally the entire store overnight to be ready to go the next morning. So I did not end up getting out of this shift until, ready for this? I came in at 7:30 p.m. You keeping track? I did not leave until 9:30 a.m. 9:30 a.m. And if I wasn't positively brain dead, visibly brain dead at that point, I probably would have been asked to stay till opening, which was at 11. But I was literally at the point where I was afraid to drive. My boss was afraid for me. My regional manager was afraid for me. I had to go home because no human, unless you're a nurse or a security guard or something like that where your job requires you to wake up in the evenings, should force you to spend that much time working when you should be sleeping. That is asinine. It is a part-time job. Part-time job, Linda! So the last thing I'm going to touch on before I end this rant. So I'm going to give you an example of an experience I had working at Hot Topic where a large sum of money was directly stolen from me. So I was working during Black Friday, and if you know what Black Friday is, I'm so sorry, because it is literally the worst holiday to ever come into existence. It's basically where you go out after Thanksgiving and spend all night shopping because there's deals. When in reality, half of those deals are what the store already does year round, and you're just too stupid to realize that it's just the same deal reworded. So I was working Black Friday, and if you work at Hot Topic on Black Friday, that means you have to work 2 shifts. You work 1 overnight, and then you work 1 the following day on actual Black Friday. So I'm ringing for a few hours, I don't know, however long my shift is, and we had a few seasonals come on board. So there was about 4 to 5 seasonals who were hired to just be there for the holiday season. So employees keep their things in the back room. So I'm ringing, and I'd been there for a year at this point, so I didn't think much of it. And I go into the back, and I had borrowed money from my other job to go and purchase some things for my other job. So I worked at a children's learning center, and she had asked me to pick up some children's books. She lent me $100 that I kept in my bag. And I had my wallet just out in the open. It wasn't in my wallet. I kept this $100 in a specific pocket that was zipped off in this bag that no one could possibly know was there unless they went rummaging through my stuff. So they would have to have seen it in that specific pocket for them to know that I had it. Now here's where the fun part happens. I go back into the back room on my break, and lo and behold, the $100 is missing. And I know I did not misplace it because as irresponsible as I am, I would not misplace someone else's money. So naturally I panic. I tell my managers. They're just like, well, it's already gone, so there's not much we can do. It's Black Friday. Maybe a customer stole it. I'm like, a customer went into the back room, went into my specific bag, and went into a specific pocket and took my $100 out of all the merchandise that's back there, out in the open. They took that. Unlikely. So then they start questioning all of these seasonals, and this one girl decided to straight up lie to all of our faces by saying, oh, you can search me, I definitely wouldn't do that. It wasn't until I quit a few weeks later that I found out that she had taken the money from my bag. The reason they found out, however, is because not 1, 2 other employees also had money stolen directly out of their bags while she was on. It wasn't the fact that I had money stolen, it was the fact that it had happened numerous times and several people's money had gone missing that they finally decided to do something about it, and she got fired. Just fired. We didn't get the money back. Nothing. If you're going to your part-time job, you're there to make money, not have money stolen. I'm still salty about it to this day, y'all. Like, Lock up your stuff. Hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your money. Anyway, guys, so that is the end of this video. And I'm sorry if I seem exasperated. Again, I just went to a concert last night. I know I look like the female version of Silent Bob right now, but I'm just gonna roll with it because, hey, good movie. Anyway, guys, I hope you learned something today about retail. And if you did like this video, make sure you subscribe below, hitting the little bell icon. That'll give you the first notice of when my videos go up. You can also give this video a like if you enjoyed my incoherent babbling. And for right now, see you guys later. Bye.